Hello everyone, Simon here. Welcome back to the architecture of Hitman, World of Assassination. And today we are in Hokkaido. We are in a hospital at the top of a mountain in Hokkaido. Now, if that doesn't make any sense to you, it's because it doesn't make any sense. There's no reason to put a hospital on the top of a mountain. But this serves the Hitman fantasy, right? We are in exotic locations doing assassination things to rich fancy people. So let's just roll with it. Where are we? We are surrounded by mountains. Look at this. This is very, very Hokkaido. Although, not all of Hokkaido look like this. I was looking at Google Maps earlier. Actually, most of Hokkaido is kind of just flat. But there are some magnificent mountains in Hokkaido. Hokkaido is volcanically active, and there are mountains. And there are mountain ranges like this, although not those and those. So I was trying to find like what this specific location is, and I don't think there is. I think this is a fictional location. Oh, and also down there we have like villages and rivers and lakes and more villages. Oh, very, very Japanese flavor. Like a village in a mountain valley with a lake. And in here we have a gondola, by the way. So the hospital is accessed by gondola coming up the mountain. Why would you? Why would you do that? Why would you? Anyway, so gondolas are a thing in Hokkaido because there's a lot of mountains, and then there's like ski resorts, and so you like get the gondola, go up to the ski resort. So that sort of thing is relatively common in Hokkaido. You can find a ski resort in Hokkaido if you want. Not hospitals though. So, like once again, the design team here is just kind of taking a bunch of Hokkaido Japanese things and just kind of jamming them together, even though it doesn't really make any sense. Alright, so where are we? This is Japan. Oh, look at that, Japan. And if we zoom in, Hokkaido is the northern island, right? And I was looking around to try to figure out where exactly we are. So given all the mountains, you might think we're somewhere around here or somewhere around here. Look at all these mountains here. But I couldn't find any place that looks like this. What I did find was two distinctive mountains. Here, this is Mount Yotai, and Yotai is very famous. Like Mount Fuji, it is just a circular volcano, and so it's got a very distinctive shape. And if we come down like maybe here, and street view, oh look at that! Look at that view. We have like a mountain here, and a mountain there. Ah, isn't that familiar? There's a mountain there and a mountain there. That's kind of familiar. Vaguely similar. Now the problem is that, as I said, a lot of Hokkaido actually is just flat plains. Even though there are mountains in Hokkaido, there's also a lot of flat plains. And so we're standing in a flat plain, which is not where we are now, right? So the mountains kind of fit, but the other stuff doesn't. And I was also trying to look for like a village by a lake in a valley. And although there are lakes, and there are valleys, and there are villages, it turns out there are very, very few places in Hokkaido where there are those three things at the same time. I'm just like looking around, and I really couldn't find anything. I actually couldn't find anything that looks exactly like what we see in game. So it's quite possible that this is just completely fictional. You just kind of take a bunch of different things from Hokkaido, mash them all together to create this kind of fantasy setting, right? It looks very cool though. Let me just look around a little bit more. Very nice. Clear blue skies. Right, that's Hokkaido, so let's go ahead and get into the hospital. So the hospital, we are on another mountain. That's very steep. That's almost vertical. Mountains usually are not quite this steep. I mean, there are very steep vertical mountains, but they're rare, right? And I'm not sure if this fits in Hokkaido, because Hokkaido is volcano. and vertical is a different thing. So volcanoes, they like that because the lava comes out of the ground and it kind of pours outwards from a hole in the ground. So you have a hole in the ground, lava pours out, and it kind of builds up into this cone shape, right? So that's a volcano. When you have vertical like that, usually it's because there's a fault line, and the fault line there's like an earthquake, and the fault kind of slips, and so then you can have like this vertical rock face because the ground has shifted like that. I mean, I guess because it's volcanically active, there probably are fault lines in Hokkaido. Uh, I gotta say though, just looking at the pictures of Hokkaido, we didn't see a lot of rocks like this, so I'm not sure if this might be just fantasy. It's probably just fantasy. The building itself sits on the rock, on these concrete legs. Look at that. So we have like a concrete legs holding up these kind of horizontal rooms, horizontal building blocks. So it's kind of like perched on the mountain. And I was looking at this earlier. Like you have these kind of really light, flat shapes. It looks almost like kind of floating. So this contrasts with the mountain, right? The mountain is vertical, solid, and then there's this kind of horizontal, light building, kind of just perched on the mountain, almost like like a bird perched on the rock, on the mountainside. It looks like it's kind of maybe about to fly away or something. Like the shape of the building looks like wings a little bit. So it's just kind of this thing perched on the rock. And I suppose that's the design theme, right? Making a point of this contrast. So that's kind of cool. Anything else I want to say? Oh yeah. So the verticality. The verticality is very cool. But the thing with this is the rocks will fall off. Never trust a vertical cliff, right? Because the rock is not, you know how gravity works, everything falls downwards, right? And the rock, bits and pieces are gonna fall off over time. And like rock faces like this, they are prone to rock falls and avalanches. And also like the steep up there, it's also steep down there, right? That's also prone to avalanches. And so I would not recommend building a building in a site like this. I mean, it looks very cool. And certainly there's really good views, but building things on a cliff, not recommended. I know sometimes it happens, like sometimes people build monasteries on the sides of mountains and it looks really cool. But honestly, it's kind of dangerous. It's not really reliable. And like in some places it can work. Some places are geologically stable enough where that kind of works. Still not recommended, but you can make it work. But not in Hokkaido. Hokkaido is volcanically active. Volcanically active means earthquakes happen, volcanic explosions, eruptions happen, the ground moves and shakes. So don't don't do this in Hokkaido or in fact anywhere in Japan. Just don't do it in Japan because like if it's geologically active, you can't trust the rocks to stay still. They might move, and then when they start moving, then your building is in trouble, right? So just anyway, things to consider if you're planning to build a really big building on a cliff for any reason. Just do your research, just make sure the geology is right for it. Don't just build it anywhere, right? Okay, let's get into the hospital. We go up from the gondola station. Oh, and the hospital is full of these like glass corridors too, so we can like see outside and see like the structure of the building, which is really good because if we get up here, get a better view of like the underside of the main building. Again, we have like these concrete legs just standing on the rock and then holding up the building, right? So that's the structure of it. Again, I'm not sure how sensible that is. I'm not sure how stable the ground is and whether this is a good idea. But it looks cool. Like in terms of fantasy architecture, it looks really cool. Whether or not it's practical, not sure. So at the front of the hospital, we have the main patient rooms. And let me just go from that side.
I hope you're enjoying your stay.
There are 4 rooms, which is already a little strange. like the entire hospital only has 4 patient rooms, so you only serve 4 patients at a time. I guess the idea is that it's very exclusive. It's a very exclusive, very expensive hospital, serving a very few people at a time. Most hospitals don't work like this, although I guess maybe some private hospitals work like this. The thing with hospitals is that actually, the more people a hospital serves, the more likely they're willing to, or they're able to cure your disease. Because if you serve a really exclusive clientele, what happens is the doctor doesn't encounter that many patients and therefore they don't have that much experience. Because imagine like okay, let's say you're like a brain surgeon. How often does a person need brain surgery? Not very often. So usually like a really big city will have one brain surgeon because not that many people need brain surgery. But when you do, you really need it, right? And so in order for there to be enough people for a brain surgeon to do brain surgery full time, right, you need a large population because you only very rarely need brain surgery. So this is what I mean, like if you're in a hospital in a really big city, you might have a specialized brain surgeon who only does brain surgery. And because he only does brain surgery, he's really good at it. He's got a lot of experience working on a lot of brains. And so then when you need brain surgery, you go to that hospital, you see that particular doctor, and you can trust that they know what they're doing because they have a lot of experience, right? Whereas if your hospital is small, you serve a small number of people, and all the people have all different diseases because why would they all have the same disease? And so you have like one doctor serving a lot of people, they all have different diseases. That doctor is not going to have the specialist knowledge and the specialist experience. And so actually they're going to be not as good at curing you or helping you fix the problem, if that makes sense. Does that make sense, like the scale thing? And it's the same, like it's not just brain surgery, it's the same with every specialization. The more patients there are in total, the more the doctors will specialize to work on one specific thing. And so then the more skilled that doctor will be at doing that one particular thing. And so then you have doctors who can really cure really difficult cases because they're so good at it, because they only focus on their own specialization, right? So that's the math of medicine, right? The math of like how you provide healthcare. So like, exclusive healthcare where doctors only see a few patients per year is actually really bad because that doctor has very little experience doing anything and it's not very good at it. Just something to keep in mind. You actually want big hospitals that serve a lot of patients. You're more likely to be cured. Anyway, okay, back to this. So over here we have room number 1, that's Japanese for 1. And here we have like this picture here. This says winter, by the way. Hokkaido e yokozo. Welcome to Hokkaido winter, is what that says. Keep that in mind. So the room, I suppose we should look at the architecture, right? Yeah. So this is ultra modern. Everything's boxes and rectangles. But it's ultra modern with a little bit of a Japanese flavor. Right, look at these doors. We have the screen doors. The Japanese flavor. Actual Japanese would sit on the floor, but we have like the low table. With katana here, if you want to go sword fighting. What can we say about... We don't have tatami mats, or a lot of timber as well, so a lot of Japanese architecture is timber. And then you look like these doors, screen doors, and then you have like these geometric motifs. Oh, look at this bathroom. Fancy bathroom. Oh, very nice. A bit of stone here. I guess people appreciate stone in the bathroom. Yeah, timber in the bathroom. Timber and water don't go very well together. Things grow on timber when it gets wet, right? So we have bathroom, lounge, bedroom, and then a balcony. Oh, hey, look at the panels there. The wooden panels are arranged in a pattern vaguely resembling tatami mats. Not quite tatami mats pattern, but it kind of resembles that. Like it's got the you know, the way that's arranged. Interesting. And then we have a balcony with a great view. So all the patient rooms where the view is the best. And then look at these. Hey, look at these. These are sunshades. Look at that. So they fold up like that. The bottom, the top, like the edge, the top edge and the bottom edge. The top edge is fixed. The bottom edge runs on this rail here. Look at that. There's a rail there, and then it folds up. So it's like a, it folds up like that. Isn't that cool? So it's like a origami thing. It's like the whole thing just kind of folds like a piece of paper origami. Very cool. A lot of glass, a lot of timber. So that's the room. And all four rooms are pretty much the same, except they have some furnishings to distinguish the patients. A Yakuza member is staying in this room, hence the katana. The other rooms don't have katanas. Alright, let's quickly go run to the other ones. Oh, glass roofs, flat glass roofs. So we are in a very cold climate, and you would expect that sometimes it snows, and a flat glass roof is probably a bad idea for snow. It might be okay, I don't know. I guess if you keep it heated enough, you will melt the snow, but then you would have to use a lot of energy to keep the place heated, because the glass is a very poor insulator by itself. Let me see if it's double glazed. I mean, it better be double glazed, right? Can you tell? It's not double glazed? I don't think it's double glazed. I mean, let's assume it is, because why would you not, right? Hold on. Can you tell whether... or maybe it is double glazed. But the thing is, even double glazed glass is not that good at insulating heat. Like, it's better than single glazing, but it's not that good. Double glaze is when you have two sheets of glass with inert air in between. And that helps you insulate versus one sheet of glass. One sheet of glass basically has zero insulation. Any heat would just go straight out, right? Any heat energy. Yeah, no, it seems like not a good idea for snow, but if you spend enough energy on heating, you can make this work. Okay, room number 2. That says 2, and this says autumn. Hokkaido Yokozo. Welcome to Hokkaido Autumn. So there was the winter room, autumn room, and the autumn room is the same, right? Basically the same thing architecturally. Copy and paste. The person who's staying here is getting cosmetic surgery, or what does that say? It says perfection. He's drawn a little heart on that guy's face. Alright, so he loves that guy's face, and he's getting plastic surgery. He's also into exercises. So that's this guy. Not much to say about the architecture here. As I said, it's all the same. The 4 rooms. And then the 3rd room over here, this is summer. Right? You see like there's a different pot plant in front of the door and a different painting. It actually helps, by the way. So there's like a different color in front of every room. And it does help you, because otherwise they're identical, right? It does actually help. Like when I play through the game, sometimes I would like run into a room or run at a room and I just look at it and I think that's the wrong room. And it doesn't even register. It doesn't even register why it's the wrong room. You just know because it's the wrong color. So the fact that they're all different colors, it helps you understand. And also like the robes too. So the patients wear the color robe, what the color, the yukata, I guess. I think the yukatas. It's not kimono. So they wear the Japanese robe, and it's the same color as their room, and so you can identify the character, the room, just by looking at it. So that's handy. I think that's a thing they put in to help the gameplay, because otherwise it's very easy to get confused, right? So this room is where the player character is staying. There's no special furnishings, or in fact there's nothing. The room is completely pristine.
How are you, Mr. Director?
And then finally, room number 4, spring. And we have a cherry blossom, so it's pink. The guy who stays here drinks a lot of beer, he's a cowboy. They're kind of making fun of the American-Japanese cultural clash. Basically, there's like a middle-aged cowboy causing a ruckus in the hospital. And look at him, he's drinking beer and he's like spilled most of it onto the ground. Ah, these American barbarians making a mess. Okay, so these are the patient rooms. As I said, there's only 4 rooms, which is strange for a hospital. As we come into the main building, right, the roof looks like that. So it's very like, the roof is like floating. In fact, I wonder how it does that, because look, the columns. This, oh, these architects, architectural magic tricks. Look at that. The columns don't actually touch the roof. The columns don't actually touch the roof, and it's not a mistake. They're doing it on purpose. They're showing off. It's not a mistake. It's when architects do these things, they're like, ah, watch this, I can make the roof fly. I mean, obviously the roof is supported by something else. It's supported, you know, by the walls, I guess. And I guess the column is like hidden in the corner there. So it's like, ah, you think it's a column, but it's not. It's silly architectural tricks. And like the column there, it doesn't touch the roof. Yeah, so there's like a big canopy sort of a thing, the big roof, and then inside the big roof there are these smaller rooms. There's a toilet there, and there's a security station there. We'll go in there later on. So again, they're making a point about the lightness of the roof, right? The fact that the roof looks like it's just floating delicately, barely being held up by any structure. And that again is the contrast against the heavy mountain and the heavy rock which surrounds the building, right? So it's like this very delicate light thing that's just sitting on the mountain. Oh, architects, am I right? Alright, let's come over here. We have Sakura Sushi. We have a sushi restaurant. Oh, those columns actually touch the roof this time. Thank goodness.
You know, I'm trying to keep calm. I don't like the thinner.
Alright, so we have a bar, a lot of sake, rice wine, and a bit of a seating area. Very generous. Look how much space there is here, and a fireplace. A fireplace with logs. I mean, the logs must be brought in from somewhere else, because there aren't any trees up here on the mountain, right? We have a bar on one side. Oh, we have a cherry tree in the middle. The cherry tree is completely enclosed in this glass box. Wait a minute, is it completely enclosed? Just trying to see if the corner is sealed. Okay, the corner is sealed. There probably should be something in the corner there. Because you wouldn't be able to get glass to do that. If it's plastic, you might be able to bend it. It's a bit strange that there's no seam at the angles. So the cherry tree, it's in blossom. Okay. I'm just wondering, do they keep it in blossom all year round? Because you can't do that, you know. So the tree, the way the tree works is after a number of cold days, and then the temperature rises, that is what triggers the tree to blossom. And so it only blossoms after a certain period of coldness, and then it warms up. And then after it blossoms, it just stops, right? And then it has to get cold again for a long period of time. And then it has to warm up again, and then it blossoms again. So that's how trees work. You can actually make them blossom more frequently by adjusting the temperature, but you can't make them blossom constantly, I don't think. I might be wrong. But as far as I know, you can't make them blossom non-stop. So either we're just by coincidence here in time to watch it blossom, or there's some kind of trickery going on. Maybe it's some sort of genetic engineering. Maybe it's a fake tree, maybe it's not even real. You don't know, right? But if it's a real tree, then you can't keep it blossoming non-stop. I don't think you can. Alright, on this side we have the actual sushi restaurant. The sushi restaurant only has 3 tables. Look at that. 1 table, 2 table, 3 tables, right? So the whole hospital has 4 rooms, and then the restaurant has 3 tables. And everything else is just sitting. I mean, there are other people here who are not patients, and I suppose the restaurant is open to other people who come up the gondola, maybe? It's not too clear how this works, because it's not just the 4 patients here. And like, does the hospital only serve 4 patients at a time, or are there other patients who pay less money and they have to come up the gondola to see the doctor? We don't know. Or are these not patients at all, they're just tourists and they come up the gondola for sushi and they don't go to the hospital? It's not really clear what's going on. Alright, back outside. As we said, we have a toilet here. Might as well go inside and take a look. Yeah, it's more or less the same thing, architecturally. You'll notice a lot of recessed lighting. Very modern, very cool. All the lighting is like hidden in the ceiling. Yeah, like all the lighting is just hidden in the ceiling. And then on this side we have security room. Oh, look at that. In the security room we don't have the timber paneling. We have, what is this, plastic paneling? So you can distinguish between the guest area and the staff area, right? The guest area is timber, the staff area is plastic and metal. If we come to the front here, we can look down at the rooms. Look at that. Look at the shape of the roof. The roof is very flat. Very flat. That's a little bit concerning because we are in a very cold climate. Presumably it snows. And when you have a flat roof, the snow will accumulate on the roof. And if too much snow accumulates on the roof and it gets too heavy, it can collapse the building. So having a flat roof in a place where it snows can be quite dangerous. Like if too much snow packs on top, it will just collapse. In this case, we don't see any snow accumulating on the roof. And I guess it's possible.
Sorry, you're just making me feel a little uncomfortable.
Get out of here, dude.
Okay?
I guess you can, like, stop the snow from accumulating if you heat the roof to melt the snow constantly. And I think they do that in some buildings. The problem is that if you heat the roof, you have to spend energy, right? You have to spend energy to heat the roof. Again, if you're willing to pay the electricity bill, you can do that. But otherwise, it's better to have like a steeper roof, so the snow mostly falls off and doesn't just stay on top of the roof. Yeah. So that's that, and then over here, on this side, we have onsen hot spring. If you speak Japanese, you realize that's what that says is hot spring is what that says, because onsen is Japanese for hot spring. So that just says hot spring, hot spring. Alright, let's go visit the hot spring, hot spring. We go through here, and then we are into the hot spring, hot spring. I don't know, if you've never been to an actual hot spring before, you might not notice, but there's no changing room. Is this supposed to be the changing room? It's not a very good changing room. So there's no changing room, and you gotta wonder, like, where did these people take their clothes off? Or did they come up the gondola like this? Did they come up the gondola with just a towel? Or like, where are their clothes? Where do they put their clothes and wrap their towel around them? So there's no changing room, that's a problem. Secondly, this is like a bathhouse sort of a facility. Now, in Japan, there are public baths. Sometimes you go to a public bath and like there's rooms with other people. But even in public baths, they're not this open. Like this is kind of, it's kind of weird. Like this is kind of, it's way too open, and it's not modest enough. So usually you have like a room, and you have cubicles like this, but there'll be walls. It wouldn't be open to the sides, so you wouldn't have other people just watching you bathe. It's kind of awkward. And also, usually the men and the women would be in separate bathing areas. You have like one room for women, one room for men. Because the Japanese, they're not that crazy. Yes, they do have public baths, but they're not that kinky. You know what I mean? And they are that kinky, but not in public. So this is like way too open, way too public. And you notice they're not actually bathing, they're just kind of standing around and sitting around. If they actually were bathing, their towels would be off and they'll be naked, and all their bits would be hanging out. That's what happens in a real bathhouse. So, it's weird. This is weird. Here we have some chairs, and this person's getting a foot massage. That seems uncomfortable for the masseuse. Usually the masseuse will have like a little stool that you don't kneel there and give you a massage. No, they'll sit there and they'll give you a foot massage. So, not sure why they're missing a stool. This is the stool, right? Look at that. That there, that's the stool for the masseuse. So she's not using it for some reason, but she should. Over here we have a toilet. And we have a sauna. Saunas are not traditionally Japanese, they are traditionally Scandinavian. But I'm sure Japanese people also appreciate saunas. You would think maybe there'd be a changing room here, but there's no changing room. There's just no changing room in the onsen. Outside we have hot springs. Presumably the hot springs are natural. It's a natural hot spring, and we're on a volcano. We're on a volcano, it's volcanically active, and that creates natural hot spring water, presumably. I mean, hot springs can be fake. They can just heat the water, but it's not quite the same. It doesn't smell the same as natural hot spring water. But again, if there is a hot spring, it means that the mountain is volcanically active, right? And why is it red down there? It's not actually lava down there, is it? What's that red color coming from? So if the place is actually volcanically active, then earthquakes probably happen, and you wouldn't want to build next to a cliff where earthquakes happen again. Okay, let's get back inside. This is this is very odd. Yeah, no, embarrassing. No changing room and like everybody's bathing together. Out in the open. Okay, so behind this building we have a bit of an outdoor garden. Although given how high up we are, everything is kind of covered in snow, and you probably wouldn't enjoy the garden very much because it'd be very cold, right? hardly any plants. Some trees manage to survive, but otherwise it's too cold. The water is liquid. This might be hot spring water as well, and that's why it's warm enough to not freeze over. Other than that, not too much to say about the garden. No, not too much to say about it. On this side, though, we have a torii gate. This is not right. So, the torii is supposed to mark the entrance to a sacred space, usually a Shinto shrine or some kind of religious shrine. Here it's not marking anything. It's just like a gate to nowhere, and then there's a seat, and then there's nothing out there. So this is a misuse of the torii gate, and it is a religious thing. So this might be culturally insensitive. I don't know how Japanese people actually feel about it. I mean, they probably don't mind it that much. It's not... I don't think it's that sacred. Like, it's not like Western religions. But nevertheless, it's not using it in the right way. So, probably culturally insensitive. Yeah, no, let's not worry about that too much. I mean, unless it is sacred, unless the mountain is sacred, but it's not. This is not how it's usually used. Usually, it would be like the gate, and then there'll be a shrine or a temple. Not like this. You know, that's the potentially insulting to Japanese people. Back in here, if we come to this side, so the onsen, the hot spring is over there, right? Behind, we come in here, and the decorations have changed. Look at that, so the timber's gone. Now we are white plastic and metal and glass. So now we get into the actual hospital part of the hospital. There's a bit of a little Buddhist monk statue there. Indoor garden. We come around a corridor down the side of the facility, so it's kind of like off to a side. It's interesting that the hospital part of the hospital is like this back alley almost. Isn't that interesting? Like the public area is the sushi place and the hot spring place. So this is the really exclusive part. So all the people who come up the gondola to visit the hot spring or the sushi bar, they don't actually get to come into the hospital. The hospital is for exclusive clients. And you have like the lights and the plastic and the shiny floors. So a very sterile hospital aesthetic as compared to outside with all the warm timber and everything else. There's some signs here, not sure if they're helpful though. So we come here, the first room we get to is waiting area. That makes sense. Right, you walk into the hospital and you wait in the waiting area.
I don't see any snacks.
At the moment there's a whole bunch of guards, so these are providing security. Wait in the waiting area, and then the next area is intensive care. This is a little bit strange. Intensive care being here. So usually in a hospital...
Jesus, right? Definitely. You're probably right.
Hold on. This is intensive care supervision. Yeah, no, this is also intensive care. Usually in a hospital, like you would have a process, right? You would wait for the doctor, see the doctor, talk to the doctor about whatever you need, and then you will get whatever treatment if suitable. So usually it's like, it's that, like you, and then you, like the waiting room, talk to a doctor, and then you might go to surgery prep, and then you go into surgery. So I don't know about intensive care being here. Like if this was surgery preparation, that would make sense. That would make a lot of sense. Intensive care would be like after you get surgery, and then you go to intensive care to recuperate. So this would be like at the other end of the chain, you know what I mean? Go in, see doctor, surgery prep, get surgery, and then intensive care is after that. So I think the sequence is a bit off in terms of just hospital design, or hospital workflow, if that makes sense. Here we have a toilet. Nothing too remarkable about it. And then around here... What is this room, actually? There's nothing back there? Not sure what's going on here. Is this surgery prep? But it's open, it's not a... Like, there's no hygiene. Kinda strange. And around here... That's a helipad out there. So, surgery is in there. We're gonna go to that place last. Let me come back out this way. And go upstairs. Up here, on this end of the building, we have the director's office. Although if you go in here, you'll notice there's not much in the director's office. Maybe the director doesn't actually do very much work. Yeah, like there's no meeting space. There's not even another chair. So he just works alone. He never meets anyone. We have observation room. So there's the surgery down there. The surgery is like right in the center of this. So you have a surgery and then you have the other spaces around it. That's probably not typical for a hospital. But in this game, the surgery, I guess, is the focus of the game, or at least of of this level. So you have a surgery with some observation areas. I feel like there's too much observation. There's too many chairs, maybe. I'm gonna get into here first. Let's continue around the outside. We have Physio Research Center. I don't know why it's a physical research. If they called this physical or physiotherapy, that would make sense. But they call it a physical research center. Interesting. But there's exercise equipment, right? Sometimes you need that. Research department. It's just a bunch of office desks. Not sure what they're researching, but there's no lab equipment, right? All their research is computer work. It seems like. I mean, okay, there's a little bit of lab equipment there. Not enough for what you expect a hospital would do. Rehabilitation supervisor. So this is part of the physiotherapy, right? Yeah. So physiotherapy is up here. Back around. To this side we have another observation room. And then here we have the secondary control room. This is the Kai mainframe. So the gimmick...
Is that you, Director?
The gimmick of the game story is that the surgery is done by AI. This is the AI server. And the surgery is performed by a robot. You see the robot arms? A robot controlled by the AI. So that's the gimmick. And to assassinate your target, you can mess with the AI to get him killed. Defibrillator power. So this is also part of the computer equipment controlling the robot. Right. And let's go back downstairs. And I've come back around. The main entrance to the surgery is here. The waiting room is there. But you wouldn't go from waiting room straight into surgery. You need to go to surgery prep, and then you go to surgery. Surgery is here. There's the guy being operated on by the robot arms. And, observation rooms and whatnot. Over here we have stem cell controls. There's like a area here. Stem cell treatment. And then back here, we have a surgery control room. So as I said, the surgery is all done by robot. And here they monitor the robot. Right? Robot controls. More computers, more machines, and then here we have the robot controls. Interesting. So it's a little strange how big the surgery is. How big the surgery is and how empty it is, right? If you like look at a real surgery room, first of all, you don't need it to be this big, and you don't need it a big glass window either. They usually have a lot more equipment, a lot more life support equipment and monitoring equipment. Because if you're like doing heart surgery, let's say, you need an artificial pump to pump the blood, or like if you're doing like a breathing machine, like if you're working on anything, you need to stop the breathing, or you need to like stop their own breathing. Then you have a machine doing breathing for you. So there's like a whole lot of machines that are missing here that would be necessary in a real surgery, which is a bit strange. But I guess like it's a video game, right? We're not going for realism, we're going for flavor. So this is like it's got a hospital flavor, it's not a real hospital. There's a whole lot of stuff missing here. What's this room? I'm not sure what this room is. Oh, this is the breathing apparatus. Oh, okay. This is where you... But where does it go? The pipes go underneath there and then it just disappears? Okay, so I mean, some of the equipment's here, but it doesn't make any sense, right? And then there's cabinets, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. So there's a number of things I noted earlier. Let me just read from my notes. So missing from the hospital is doctor consultations, doctor's offices. There's no doctor's offices. And there's no consultations, so like if you know, when you go to the doctor, they inspect you, there'll be a room with a bed, and whatever the doctor needs to do to diagnose your illness, they would do that there, right? They would kind of take your temperature, take your blood pressure, and then, you know, they check your pulse and all that. So the room to do that doesn't exist here. Now you might say, well, maybe they do that somewhere else. Maybe they do that in the patient rooms. Maybe like they bring the equipment to your room and they do the checkups there. That's possible. Or maybe they do it on the other side of the gondola, so they do it before you come up the gondola. Also missing is diagnostics. So things like MRI and CT scans and all these other scans, ultrasound, all that stuff is missing. So there's no way for the doctors to like give you an X-ray. There's no X-ray machine. There's no X-ray machine. So again, maybe that stuff is on the other side of the gondola. Like maybe there's another hospital ward or another hospital wing down the other side of the gondola, and you like get your checkups there, and you only come up here for surgery. Maybe. I'm not sure that would make sense, but what I'm saying is you will need that other stuff somewhere, because otherwise the hospital is not a fully functioning hospital, right? Okay, so out here we have a helipad. I guess if you need to come in by helicopter, you would do so here. We are at the giant vertical rock. Oh, there's a waterfall as well, which I guess the hot spring water has to come from somewhere, I suppose. It doesn't flow that way. You would think that if the waterfall's here, it would just go out this way. Maybe they blocked it here and to divert it to the hot springs on the other side. Right, because why would this water not just flow down there? So, I don't know why there's so much water at the very top of a mountain. We are at the very top of the mountain. So, like, waterfalls and mountain springs, usually, like, they'll be at the bottom of the valley, or, you know, in the valley. So the catchment you know, all the water is caught in the ground and it kind of flows downwards into and it kind of comes out as a spring or as a waterfall from the spring, because the water is kind of flowing underground and it comes out of the ground. So in order for there to be water, there needs to be like a catchment area to catch the rain and the snow, and then for the water to kind of concentrate into a point and come out as a waterfall. So this sort of thing does not happen at the very top of a mountain. It needs to happen further down the mountain. This doesn't make any sense. There's no reason why there should be so much water up here. But it looks cool, right? It's very dramatic. Let's come back here. I'm gonna walk this way, behind the waterfall. I mean, this is very flavorful, but not very realistic. Back of the hospital. Notice the stains on the walls. Apparently they don't clean this side of the hospital as thoroughly as the other side. There's a mountain path up here, and I'm just gonna run up so we can see the top of the hospital. So up here you can see this is the roof, and as I said earlier, it's very flat. And having a flat roof where it snows is usually a bad idea. But I guess it's heated. I just don't I don't recommend you do this as an architect, right? I don't recommend you build a big flat roof where it snows. You'll notice there are solar panels. Those are solar panels. But given the size of this facility, and given that it's a hospital, and given that we're in Hokkaido, I do not believe that those solar panels are sufficient to power the hospital. Because it's a luxury hospital, so people use a lot of electricity because they're not being frugal here. They're spending a lot of money. The AI server, the computer probably uses a lot of power. The robots probably use a lot of power. And just generally speaking, hospital use a lot of power because there's a lot of equipment they have to run. Like MRI machines. MRI machines use a lot of power, although they don't have an MRI machine in this hospital, so maybe it's fine. But like any like machines, computers, the heating in this place is going to use up a lot of electricity. So those solar panels definitely will not supply enough power, especially if you're heating the whole roof to keep the snow off. There's no way. Now, you might think, okay, I mean, why are you guys making such a big deal? Because you're not gonna get mains power at the top of a mountain. You'll notice there's no power pylons. They're not running any power lines up here. It's like when you're in the city, you just like plug your appliance into the wall and you get power. When you're at the top of a mountain, you can't do that because you're not running the city's main electricity power all the way up to the top of the mountain like this, right? And the water too. I mean, I guess there's a hot spring if you believe that there's a waterfall there. But are you drinking that water? Are you drinking the spring water? Or do you bring water in from somewhere else? I mean, there's not going to be pipes. And where does the poop go? We always have to ask this question. Where does the poop go? There's no sewage plumbing. Like, there's no sewer pipes at the top of a mountain, is it? So what do you do with all the poop? So all these things are unanswered. There's a lot of unanswered questions about how this hospital can possibly function at the top of a mountain. And that's why there are no hospitals on the top of mountains in the real world. Because in the real world, none of this would make any practical sense. You wouldn't do this. Wouldn't. There'd be so many more problems. Right? But it's a video game. It's a video game, so we're doing this for the fantasy. I don't know though, but even like a fantasy should be plausible. This is not plausible. So underneath the helipad, and in fact underneath the whole hospital, we have some service areas. So this is like the underside of the hospital. Guests are not supposed to come back here, and you'll see how everything's just kind of bare concrete. So as soon as we get away from the guest areas, everything is a lot more rough, a lot of bare concrete. You can see how it sits on the rock though, look at that. The whole building is just perched on the rock, which then goes immediately into a vertical cliff. Again, I wouldn't recommend you do this, because I don't trust vertical cliffs to stay intact over long periods of time. Look at that. Look at that. There are, in the real world, there are monasteries on cliff edges, on cliff tops. So it's not like nobody ever does this. Sometimes people do this. But you really need to be real careful about the underlying geology and whether or not
Jesus, you need a
it's stable enough to support the building that you want to build. And generally the answer is no. Generally the answer is you don't want to do this. because rock, like, the rock will break off, and because there's ice as well, so like water expands when it freezes. So if you have any cracks in the rock, like during the day it'll warm up, the snow melts, the water seeps into the rock. At night it cools down, it expands in the ice, and it cracks the rock open. And over time it'll just crack the rock, and then the rock will fall off. It's so dangerous. Like, this is so dangerous. This is not a good idea to build in a place like this. I'm just like giving you all the reasons not to do this. So this
Please stay
path
back.
comes back this way. If you remember, this is Sakura Sushi, right? So from the back we go around the edge of the building behind into the hospital there, and then here this is the courtyard garden. Remember this? Right, so that's how these paths join up. We're gonna go back in here though, because there's a basement to the whole building. Right, there's an underlevel, and this is all surfaces. Surface areas. We'll come this way first. Going back underneath the hospital, we have a morgue. The morgue is a little big. Remember that the whole hospital only has 4 beds, like 4 patient rooms, and it only has a surgery. So logically there shouldn't be this many dead bodies. If you're only serving 4 people at a time, why are there so many dead bodies? You see what I mean? This is not the kind of facility where you deal with a lot of old people who are gonna die on you. And if people die somewhere else, you're not gonna bring them up the gondola just to put them in this particular morgue. So there's no reason why the morgue should be this big. In fact, there shouldn't be a morgue at all. Like, if you die, you just take them down the gondola to a different facility. Right.
There's a rumor that
So this is more for flavor than for any logical reason. We have incinerators here. Hospitals do need incinerators because there's a lot of medical waste that's hazardous, right? That's like diseased things that you take from the patients. You need to burn that stuff to dispose of it safely. So hospitals do need incinerators, and you really don't want to move that stuff around too much, so you want to just burn it on site if possible. There's a staircase that goes back up to the hospital. I'm not going to go up there. We have the stem cell supply room. This is incredibly odd that it should be positioned here. You would think that they would keep the stem cell supply closer to the surgery where it's needed. Because if you're like, oh, we need more stem cells, you need to run down here through the morgue to get the stem cells. By the way, the surgery is up here. So the stem cell supply is back there, right? And the stem cell treatment room here the stem cell controls is here. Instead of having the stem cell supply right next to the stem cell controls, you have to run down here, run through the morgue, run through the incinerator room, where the biohazardous waste is disposed of, so this is not clean. And then you have to come into here to grab the stuff and then to bring that back out again. You don't do this in the hospital. You don't come through the dead people. Come through the bio waste to pick up the stem cells and then take that back and then use that to treat the patients through the bio waste and through the dead people. You don't do that. There's no way you do that. So this is purely for gameplay reasons. Purely for gameplay reasons, they separate those two things so that you have to sneak past all these people, sneak past all the guards to get the run room and then sneak back past to do the thing. Is why they do it. Mortuary coolers, so we have dead body storage. Again, there's no reason why there should be this many dead bodies in a facility this small. And then here the organ storage. Again, same with the stem cell thing. The organs are kept here on the other side of all the dead bodies. So you can't do this because organs, look, organs, they need to be fresh. And you need to like put them into the body as soon as you can, really. Like the less time you spend, the better. So you need to like have this right next to the surgery room. So you can just like get it in. Because the more time it spends outside the body, the more the tissue dies. And the worse it gets, right? So you just want to just get it in as quick as you can. This is in the wrong place. Completely the wrong place. And then we have another staircase. So this is underneath the hospital. Everything's like in the wrong place. But I guess all the pieces are there. Like you do need some dead body storage because at least a small percentage of your patients are gonna die on the operating table, right? So you do need some dead body storage and you maybe do need a little bit of a morgue. But not this much. And you want to swap the positions of the organ storage and the morgue. Over here we have a security room. Interesting that it's down here, but okay. And now, down this corridor, we're out from underneath the hospital now, and we're back to underneath the other building. We have a loading bay. Ah, a loading bay with a ramp to bring in bulk cargo. Multiple times now on the other maps I have talked about the lack of loading bays and ramps. On this map there is a loading bay and a ramp. Nice. Except, how the hell do you bring things in by truck? To the top of a mountain. We have like a snowplow up there. We have snowmobiles. Is this the road? Are you gonna drive a truck up this road? I appreciate that there's a loading bay, but how do you get a truck up here? There's like the road is completely covered in snow and it's really steep. So that's gonna be an adventure to get these goods in here. Alright, loading bay. We have a mechanic. So I don't know if you can tell, but the radio is playing Chinese songs. We are in Japan, and the mechanic listens to Chinese songs. Maybe he just likes Chinese songs. Maybe he's just a Japanese guy who likes Chinese songs. Or maybe he's Chinese, who knows, right? If you're wondering where we are, up here, we are back in the hot spring. We're not gonna go back there again. Just to show you how the things fit. Continuing through the service areas. Over here we have linen storage. and laundry. I'm not sure if the laundry is big enough. Maybe it is. There's only 4 rooms, right? So how much laundry do you need to do? You need to do the laundry for the onsen, hot springs, all the towels and things. You need to do laundry for the rooms, the patient rooms. Would there be any laundry for the hospital? There must be, some at least. Oh, there's no scrub room in the hospital. That's one of the things that's missing. You need to scrub down. Like, doctors need to, like, scrub down before surgery. I guess the robot does the surgery. But the robot needs to be scrubbed down, because if one patient comes in, the robot does the work. Before you bring the next patient in, you need to sterilize the robot. And then, because otherwise the disease will spread from one patient to the other. Yeah, no, there's no scrubbing room in the hospital either.
Just go away.
And then this corridor, it joins back up to here. This place is... So those are the patient rooms, right? Patient rooms here, and then we go back into the building up there. So there's back corridors joining all the spaces. So the guests don't have to cross paths with the staff as much. So like there's a corridor there going to the rooms again.
You have a fascinating job, Mr. Director.
Here, look at this, we have a little underwater window here. We are under the pond in the garden. Remember in the courtyard garden? There was the little river and then there was a pond with liquid water. So this is the water. Another path out to the patient rooms. Over on this side we have the canteen. This is the staff canteen, right? So the staff are eating here, as you can see. Fizz kudamono. Kudamono is a fruit, so fizzy fruit. Flavorful is what that says. Flavorful fizz fruit is the drink. Here we have the kitchen. So the kitchen for the sushi restaurant above. I don't think it's just the sushi restaurant. I think it's a sushi bar, and then there's also a proper restaurant. But here's the kitchen, along with cold storage. All right, everything's sensible except how do you get the meat in there? In order to get the meat into the cold storage, you have to bring it through the whole staff area. You have to bring it down this corridor because the loading bay is back here, right? The loading bay is back there, and the meat storage is back there. So you have to like bring the meat all the way down. I wonder if that's sensible. Maybe the kitchen should be closer that way, but then the restaurant is this way. No, the restaurant's here. Yeah, no, you just have to bring the meat all the way to the other side of the building. Maybe they should have swapped it around. Maybe the onsen should be on this side and the restaurant should be the other side. Here we have a game room. They're playing some sort of... Oh, he's not doing very much, is he? Oh, he's stepping. Alright, so they're playing games. And then we have like staff sleeping quarters. We have these little pods. This is very Japanese, alright? This is like... When you think about Japanese people, this is what foreigners think about. Not every Japanese actually live like this. Look, okay, so I know that the meme about these kind of pod hotels. First of all, pod hotels are not that common anyway. Secondly, they only do that in like crowded cities, like in the middle of Tokyo, where the land is really expensive, and so if you like rent a room for the night, it's gonna cost you a lot of money. So instead of renting a room for a night, you just kind of rent a pod for a night to save money. But only in the middle of Tokyo, where things are really expensive. On the top of a mountain, maybe things are kind of expensive here, but not so much that you need to do this, I don't think. And secondly, why are the staff sleeping in the hospital? There's a gondola. Wouldn't they just like live in the town and they'll take the gondola to come to work, and then after work they go back down the gondola to the town where they live? Why would they sleep up here? So this is here for the memes, right? This is not really... That doesn't really make sense. Not in a hospital, and not in this hospital, because this... You would just travel to work from the gondolas. We have showers. You probably do need showers in the hospital. Oh, it's fancy showers too. Hey, look at the shower head on there. Why is this so fancy? And then out this way, what did I miss? Oh, I missed this one. Medical staff sleeping quarters. So that's the normal staff. Here's the medical staff. They're still doing the pods. Although it's fancier because we have the timber paneling and nice timber furniture. So the medical staff are better paid than the other staff. But they still have to sleep in pods. Pod hotel, but fancier. This is kind of silly. It's a little silly. Okay, and then we come back out here. Remember this place? Okay, so we went for a loop. And I guess that's the whole hospital. The whole Hokkaido hospital. Let us go back to the gondola and then finish up. There's a lot of weird things going on. But at the same time, it's kind of cool, right? It's kind of just cool, the idea of it. Like a exclusive hospital hidden on top of a mountain. The idea of it is pretty cool.
Okay.
Not very sensible, but very interesting. Alright, back here. Beautiful view. Look at that mountain there. Yeah, like the staff would just take the gondola and they'll live down there. Why would they sleep up here? Okay, so final thoughts. It doesn't make sense at all for there to be a hospital on top of a mountain. Nothing about this makes any sense. It's not practical. The geology is not safe. Like the location is very dramatic, very picturesque, but also completely unsafe. Like an exclusive hospital doesn't make sense because your doctors are not going to be experienced because they don't work on very many patients. You're not going to get electricity and water and plumbing up here, so I don't know. Where does the poop go? Nobody knows. So if you don't worry about any of that, then the Hitman fantasy of this exclusive secret hospital serving elite clients, that's very cool. Very cool. And you kind of come into this thing and you assassinate people. Like the idea of it is fun, right? There's only 4 rooms, but there's a lot of other people in the onsen and in the sushi restaurant. It's like they try to put a resort, a mountain resort, and a hospital together in the same space. Even though that doesn't really make any sense. Maybe at some point early on in the brainstorming it made sense to them. Like imagine you have a level where there's a public onsen resort area. And then off to one side there's like a private hospital facility. And like the idea of it, okay, that makes sense. But somewhere along the way, it stopped making sense. The onsen doesn't have all the pieces, it doesn't have a changing room. The sushi restaurant, like why would people come up here just for the sushi? Like I mean, how good does the sushi have to be for people to come all the way up here just to have the sushi? So like the restaurant is kind of like doesn't make sense, there's not enough clients there. And then the hospital only has 4 rooms. So somewhere along the way, it stopped making sense. It's still architecturally really cool, thematically really cool, but practically it kind of it's very odd. You can always argue though, you can always argue that all the other stuff that's missing is just on the other side of the gondola. You can always just say that there's another hospital wing down there, right? And this is like one part of a bigger hospital complex. And it's up the gondola because rich people come up here and they're willing to pay the money to do that. You can kind of argue it that way and just say, oh yeah, no, all the other stuff you're talking about, yeah, they're down there, sure, no problem. You can do that. I don't know if that's good. Like, I don't know if that's good storytelling. It seems like a cop-out, but, you know, you can say that. The whole thing is very fancy and very interesting, but don't take it too seriously, because you're never gonna find something like this in the real world. In the real world, if you go to Hokkaido, you're gonna go to a resort, a mountain resort somewhere. You're gonna have a great time, but you're not gonna find a hospital there. You're just gonna find a nice mountain resort, spend maybe a week there, and you're gonna have a great time. And you're gonna go skiing. Oh, there's no skiing here. Usually the resorts also have like a skiing facility. Alright, so let's go ahead and finish our assassination. I still have to eliminate Yuki Yamazaki. Ah, there you go. Yuki Yamazaki has been
That's
eliminated.
both targets down. Time to find an exit. We're done here.
We are certainly done here. So the next location, we are going to Hawke's Bay in New Zealand, where we take a look at a beach house. A beach house in New Zealand. Alright, that's in the next video. See you next time.